from Nepal to Russia, and from Russia to Latvia, and then to Germany and Poland, and eventually Indiana. It might sound like a weird path, and it really is, but that's the path that my father took from Nepal to Indiana. I think my father was a very well-rounded person in a lot of ways. He could break or build anything, and from all the steps in between knew how everything worked. And to me, it seemed very interesting because he was a man that really could do anything. I was born in Anderson, Indiana, and not too long after, I moved to Columbus, Indiana, which is only a couple of hours away. Columbus, Indiana was where I spent the most of my youth, and that's where I grew up and went to elementary school, to middle school, to high school, and eventually I chose IU Bloomington as my college. So a couple of steps in between, I think that my father's innate ability to kind of do everything rubbed off on me in a little bit of a sense that I became ambitious about the world. You know, I wanted to be an artist at one point, so I picked up drawing and painting, and I wanted to be a musician at some points, and I picked up, playing the drums, and I wanted to be an athlete, so I picked up sports, and here we are now, at the brink of academia, moving onwards with that. So I think in a lot of ways, I think his ability to be well-rounded really led to my pursuit in the ambition of being as well-rounded as he was. It's hard to follow someone whose footsteps have been so big, but here I am, moving forward. So I think it's interesting now that I am on the forefront of my life, because those were the past events, and now we're moving from the now to the future. And I think it's interesting because I have been given the opportunity to go study in France next year, which I have taken up for the whole academic school year. And I think it's really kind of interesting how that panned out, in that my father went from Nepal to Latvia and studied there and got his degree in aeronautical engineering. And that in a different vein, I am studying in France next year for a whole year, which is a little less extreme, I'll say that much. But I think it's still a good telltale sign that I am my father's son, and that I have an innate wanderlust that wants to be fulfilled also. So in a lot of ways, I think it's a parallel to my father's life in a much different sense. But that's, I think, where the interest is because the future is completely unknown to all of us. We all have the foresight to see what we want to see in the future, but none of us really know what's going to happen until we get there. So for me, I'm studying neuroscience and French right here in Bloomington with a pre-medical association as well. And you want to be a doctor when you grow up, you go through med school, and that's my ambition, but the future is very different and turbulent, so we'll see how that goes, but that's the hope. More immediately, we know that I'm going abroad next year, and I think that after that, it's kind of still a mystery, which I think is also the fun in living, because you don't know what to expect all the time. So with that said, I'm very much looking forward to the rest of my life. As only one can, and I hope that the rest of the people in my life become as involved as they have been in the past, and it sure will be an interesting ride. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, guys.